What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Knock Stiff Golf. I'm Kyle. I'm just a fellow golf addict that happens to live in Anchorage, Alaska. When I'm not out on the course playing golf, you're going to find me right here talking about it. So in today's episode, I've asked on my Instagram at KnockStiffGolf to have people shoot me some questions of stuff that maybe I've faced over the last 30 days of videos, or just stuff they were interested in what I'm doing, etc., etc. And now that I say that out loud, it sounds very vain, and I didn't mean for it to be that way, but some people were curious what I was doing, and I'm going to answer those questions. So let's dive into it. I got my iced coffee all ready from the morning. I got my phone with questions on it, and let's dive in. So my good friend on YouTube and now Instagram, Greg Cortman Golf, asked, do you have prior experience in photography or video? If so, what is it? In short, I have very little experience in both photo and video. I started doing photo stuff about 2 years ago, playing around with a little DSLR, thought I was okay at doing it, and really probably editing saved my life, like it does probably most photographers. But video is something that's always kind of stuck with me, because video is certainly a different way to tell a story than just a photo, but I like the aspect that I have a few minutes to kind of sell somebody on an idea or show somebody something, versus I have one shot to really tell that story in photography. And that's probably from my lack of talent in telling stories. Whatever it may be, I have very little experience, and that's what I want to encourage everybody that's maybe watched some of these videos or is thinking of starting something, is the only way you're going to get more experience is by doing it. And I encourage you to put out that stuff as much as you can to get feedback and to learn this skill a little bit more. Also, Greg asks, how do you stay warm in Alaska during the golf season when it's cold outside, like some of the videos I've put up? So basically that comes down to long johns, so I can keep the layers to a minimum, because I hate swinging with bulky jackets on and hoodies underneath and all that stuff. So long johns, about 10 pairs of hand warmers that I'll stick in my bag. I'll bring my big snowboarding mittens and I'll stick the hand warmers there in the fingers so I can just put those on when I'm walking around. And usually that keeps me pretty warm, mixed with walking. And if I'm riding, I might need to put some toe warmers in and a pair of hand warmers in my pockets. So that, mixed with some coffee and maybe some whiskey, is what does the job typically here in Alaska. Next, I got a question from my good buddy, Zach Perry. He wanted to rub in that who won more matches this year, me or Zach? So Zach and I played each other probably a mixture of 5 to 6 times, I think. He did really well playing other people in our local community, and he won quite a few matches. I don't know that he ever lost versus anybody else besides maybe our buddy Young and me. But he did beat me more times than I beat him. We had a couple that usually come down to the wire. They usually come down to the last hole, and I choked one time when I had him dormy on 15, I think, and I just, did my thing. And another one, we were all square at 17 or all square on 16, and I lost it on 17. So is what it is, and that doesn't make sense. We were all square on 17, and I believe I lost it on 18. I can't remember. Regardless, losses I just erase from my memory because they don't matter. So my buddy at Leave the Pin asks, have I ever played golf with a Yeti? So I've never seen a Yeti up here. I've never heard very many Bigfoot stories or Yeti stories up here in Alaska, surprisingly. Even though we're supposed to be notorious for that kind of stuff, since we're kind of considered in the Pacific Northwest, I have played golf with bears, moose, porcupines, everything else I think I can probably imagine, but never a Yeti. But I'm still holding my breath, because maybe one day I'll get lucky. The Golf Clan, he's been making some moves online quite a bit with YouTube and Instagram. He's been hitting it very hard. I can respect the hustle there, because I know how much work it is and it takes a lot of time. So his question was, any advice on how to improve editing skills? I will say that me personally, I have attended YouTube University for the past 2.5, 3 years. And what I mean by that is I've spent many mornings learning different techniques, learning the software that I use, which is Final Cut Pro, watching tutorials, watching everything I can to try to absorb as much information as possible. And then what I'll do is, as soon as I've learned something or think I've learned something, I'll try to implement that into a video coming up. And you're going to see that in tomorrow's video, something that I just kind of played around with, and I'm not sure how it's turned out yet because I haven't edited it yet, but basically, if you learn a new transition or a new way of shooting something, you should start practicing that, throw it up in a video, get it on your timeline, and mess around with it and try to get used to it so it can become part of your repertoire. Repertoire, that's a cool word. But all I can say is practice, practice, practice. Continue putting out content. And that was a big part of this 30 days of videos, is I wanted to be able to get better at what I'm doing. Now I can pump out a video in a single day with filming, editing, uploading, everything, thumbnails. And a few months back, it was taking me 3 days to kind of get all that stuff done when I had a Tuesday and Friday uploading schedule. So what you really need to do is just find those areas that you're not very good at, get them up to par with the rest of your editing skills. That way you can pump out that content on a more consistent basis. So again, I'm not going to bore you guys with about 50 questions. I'm just going to go through a few of them that I got and I think are the ones that will provide you with the most information. So next we come to my buddy Colby at Quite the Chap. So he says, what do you find the hardest about putting out a video a day? So this is a very important question for me because I didn't know the answer to this before I started. I just assumed I'm going to start putting out the videos and I'm going to learn as I go. I have no idea how I'm going to do it or what the content's going to be. Like I said in earlier videos, I had maybe 14 ideas before I kind of started and maybe 3 videos that I had sort of done to upload. So it was really learn as I go. And the hardest part strictly has been finding the time to put out the content. And I have a 9-to-5 job. I have a family. My wife is expecting in a few weeks and Christmas is almost here, Thanksgiving. So it's been a very hectic month, but I feel like I've grown so much. So the hardest part simply is juggling all of those different things together and being able to put out a piece of content that maybe I'm not 100% thrilled with, but it's a piece of content. And a lot of creators kind of live by this motto that done is better than perfect. And sometimes you don't know what that means until you face that dilemma of, should I edit this for another hour or should I call it good? And so this 30 days has forced me to embrace that 100%. And I've put out stuff that I maybe didn't feel super confident in, but at the end of the day, I promised a video a day. And if I get too nitpicky, I could risk that timeline. So I would say the biggest thing I've learned is done is better than perfect, even though I already knew that. So another question from my buddy, AK Realtor John, is what's your long-term vision for Knox Disc Golf? This is a great question because it's still something I am not 100% sure on. But things have changed quite a bit. I really think that I want to tackle video production a bit more. I'm looking to invest in a much nicer computer over this holiday season, and I really have loved creating stuff for some of the brands that I've done with True Links, with Cutter and Buck, Bunker Mentality. And part of me feels like at some point I could start charging for this stuff. And I think I want to start taking the steps towards that because I'm spending so much time doing it, and I'm doing it in exchange for stuff perhaps, or just because I want to. But I feel also that it's not bad content, and I feel like I could almost get some sort of return on that. So that's kind of the goal that I'll be working towards. Other than that, I think it's going to continue to be a YouTube channel where maybe I'll do a bit more of the course vlogs because I kind of enjoyed those towards the end. They were kind of fun to just go out and talk to the camera and give my 2 cents and just have a good time playing golf. And sometimes I don't always like to play golf by myself, but if I'm vlogging, it made it a bit more entertaining for me. So I think next summer there will be a bit more of that, along with a lot more production value in my videos that I'll be coming out with. We will see how that turns out. So another question from the Sweet Spot Golf, my buddy Keith over in Wisconsin. So if you could play one course before you die, what would it be? I would have to go with St. Andrews, just because all of the history there, all the heritage, the stories that I've read about the place. I mean, it sounds like a truly magical course, and I would love to get my picture on the bridge there. Just not even a close second to me, besides maybe Augusta, which is I might have a strategy at trying to play one day, but I might use that next year. We'll see. But let's put St. Andrews as that course. Another question from the Golf Clan again. Would you want to do YouTube full time? Now, I've talked to a few people that do YouTube really aggressively. And we're talking people that have almost 6 figures in subscribers, and some of them do. And YouTube looks more glorious than I truly think it is. Just because you have a ton of followers, it really doesn't mean that you're raking in a ton of dollars or able to do it full time. You have to be smart with it. You have to know what you're doing in terms of ads and the content that you're putting out. It's not like you just put out one video and you go viral and then you're doing it full time. Viral is a very temporary thing. And viral doesn't mean your content is good. It's just, if you listen to Gary Vee talk about it, there's so many people that have gone viral that have never done another thing in their life in terms of content. And so I don't want to go viral. That's not a goal of mine. I want to put out consistently good content that people return and watch, much like a TV show. When you go viral, it's kind of like a pilot. And if that pilot is great and you don't put out anything else, then you don't get subscribers and people that return to what you're watching. A good example of that is I'll check people that have gone viral for different things. One was a guy that went viral here in Alaska for doing this dancing and singing thing to an Alicia Keys song on a dock. And I look into him like that was a few years ago that just went crazy. And he's not really doing much. I mean, he kind of used it to pivot into like a comedian career or whatever. But for somebody that had tens of millions of views on a video, you would think they would have tens, maybe a million subscribers. And it's nowhere close to that. And so it just proves that viral is not really the route to go. It's the rabbit versus the hare. You want to put out the long-term consistent content that people want to tune in for. That doesn't really answer the question of, do I want to go YouTube full-time? I'd love to. If I could create videos full-time and get paid for it, why not? But until I can feel more confident in the strategy that I'll be doing, I will continue this as a hobby. So now I'm going to get into some questions that were kind of asked by a few different people, and that was, what camera do I use? What kind of mic do I use? Right now I'm filming on a Canon M50. Great camera for the price. There's the new M6 Mark II that just came out, which is kind of probably a better version of this, but doesn't have the viewfinder for your eye. This camera right now, like Black Friday sales, is like $600, $500 with a kit lens that a lot of people use as their only lens. I think Andrew Jensen uses that with a 15 to 45 kit lens. And then I think maybe James Robinson probably does too. I can't really tell, but it's a great little camera. It will do everything you need in terms of YouTube content creation. I have the little 22 millimeter lens on it right now that is great for this kind of video or doing B-roll, or really just in general, because it converts to a 35 millimeter with the crop sensor in this camera. So a lot of that's just camera talk. For this lens is a great lens for you. This is a Samson G-Track Pro mic that I use for these sit down videos. And then I also have a Rode Video Micro on top. That's a great little vlogging mic. A lot of this stuff, if you have any more questions about it, just shoot me a message and I'll gladly send you pictures and all this information that you need about it for what I use. Like I said, a lot of guys are spending thousands of dollars on video setups and all this kind of stuff, but realistically, your phone works just as well at recording some video. You may not get quite the same look that you will see with a higher budget camera, but a lot of times people aren't able to notice that. The only reason I've spent more time doing that is because I noticed my own stuff not looking to be the quality I wanted it, so I needed to step it up a little bit more. So if you can't notice, then there's a lot of people that won't notice as well. Another question I had was, what's the lowest score that I shot this year? Now, if you go back to some of my goals videos, I had to break 70. I've never done it. I never shot under par until this year. And so when we were in Sand Valley, I was able to squeak out a 3 under 70 at Mammoth Dunes. Best round I've ever shot. Still kicking myself that I was like 5 under and something like that. And I bogeyed a stupid 3-putt bogey on a 17 to put me at 3 under. And then I made a great par on 18, in my opinion, to shoot a 70. Granted, Colby, quite the chap, shot 69, rubbed it in my face. You know, it happens. So 70 is my, well, I should say 3 under is my lowest score ever. And then another 2 times this year, I shot 72 and I shot a 70 at my home course, which is 2 under. So I had 3 rounds at par or better, and I was thrilled about that, going from never shooting under a 73 in my life from the men's tees to having 3 rounds that I felt really good about. and my game was just a lot better this year in general, and I want to do another video on maybe like 5 steps that I know will help you shoot better scores that are maybe a little different than all the videos that you see out there. That would be my lowest score, 3 under. So far this video's going on, I'm recording now for like 20 minutes, and I honestly just don't want to bore you guys with a bunch of random questions and answers, so I'm going to do one more and then we're going to shut this off, and if you have other questions, feel free to shoot them to me and I'll answer you personally. So the last question I felt like was an important one to me, and a few people have congratulated me already, but it's, how do you feel about becoming a dad? So as most of you already know, I have a stepson who's 10, and I met him when he was 5, so I haven't experienced the baby situation yet, and I'm honestly looking forward to it. A lot of things have changed in my mind about fatherhood, about raising kids, and all of this stuff that I'd never even considered or thought I would have to think about. We are getting really close. We've been to the appointments, and I get the whole fatherhood or parenting thing in general now. Like, you just feel something different towards this little person that's in my wife's stomach right now. I feel the little baby kick and all this stuff, and it does something different to you. And I mean, this is something that millions and billions of people have experienced over time, that it's all pretty consistent, that this is a part of you that you are going to raise and turn into a grown adult one day. And it's your responsibility to kind of guide them on where they'll end up one day. So it's a huge responsibility, and I'm really excited about it. And will she play golf? I don't know. I will certainly guide her towards my passion and show her the game, but I'm never going to be one of those people that forces them to do something that they might not want to do. Golf is a great sport to me, but maybe she'll be drawn to volleyball like her mom, or softball, whatever it may be. I'm all good with it, and I'll support her in everything she does, but she'll certainly try golf maybe once. I'll say that. Guys, I appreciate you tuning in for another episode of Knockstiff Golf. These questions were great. I really appreciate people taking the time to ask me stuff. It shows me that a lot of the viewers care and they're interested in what I'm doing. And as I wrap up this 30 days, it's been humbling to see the response so far for a small YouTuber like myself. So guys, if you would, please like, subscribe, comment down below if you have more questions or didn't like an answer or liked an answer that I had. Please get entered into the drawing that I have going on right now. It's for the Bandon Dunes print and Dream Golf book signed by Mike Kaiser. You'll just need to go over to the video, leave a relevant comment on the video, and you'll be entered. And you'll have about, at the time of this release, probably another day or so. Please head over there, get entered, and as always, guys, I'll see you next time. Bye.